All right. Good evening, traders. How are you guys? Let's do a brief audio and visual check. If you guys could hear and see me okay. We have Coach Jay. He's in the house. How are you,
What's going on,
Coach?
everybody? I'm doing good, Dakota. I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Sounds good. Looks good to me.
Sounds good. Looks good to
Dude,
me.
love that new mic. Love that new mic.
Yeah. Again, shout out to Danielle and Jack for sending this over, making me a real influencer.
You got the hookup, man. They're just tired of you
Yeah,
paid
it's like,
enough
hey,
in
this guy
mute
sounds like
fees.
trash.
They used the mute fees you paid for that and sent it to you.
Right. Exactly.
That's exactly what happened. So give me a minute if you want to tell us how was your trading day. I'm gonna give you a few things set up on my end.
Trading day went well. Trading in this Topstep XFA. This is the Q4 XFA, counting down the days. How many trading days we have left in the year. After today, I believe we have 59 trading days left in the year. Today was a profitable one for me, trading the Dow and the Russell for the most part. Took a couple losses with micro crude, but good day overall. Right now, I'm looking at a potential long in platinum. But
Okay.
yeah, good day. Got some trades. Got outside. Enjoyed the weather while it's still somewhat nice here in New York. And this is a Brooklyn Dodgers hat, not a Boston Red Sox hat.
I don't follow that too much. Well, tell me about that platinum trade. Might as well do that. And right before we go, so there is our risk disclosure. If you guys haven't seen it already, welcome to Slow Markets. I'm Coach Dakota. You have with me what side? This side, Coach Jay. And anything we do talk about tonight is for educational purposes only. If you see us place trades, it's for educational purposes only. We know how it goes, but if you're new, take a look, read that risk disclosure. So go ahead, tell us about your platinum trade. I've never traded platinum. I've seen some traders have, and sounds like you trade it.
Yeah. So I think everybody knows how I work. I'll trade any market that's presenting an opportunity to trade a technical setup. And platinum right now on the 30-minute chart, first 30-minute opening range, VWAP is leaving that range early. And the trade is working out currently. Where I was looking to get in is the high of that opening range. So looking for a little bit of a pullback somewhere near 961. I actually put this on because I personally don't love the trading view measuring tools. I know someone had sent, exactly how to measure the risk on a trade. So what I do is just put it on in a ineligible combine and then measure the risk that way. So if I get in where I want to at the high of this opening range, I'll be in two contracts risking about $250. And then looking for potential target on this would be 970 to start. So about a 3-to-1 trade if I can get in, but it may just go without me.
Okay, and you're long, right?
Correct.
I mean, a market's a market, man.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Trade what presents itself, and it's always that balance. And I've always wondered myself is, do you focus on one market? Do you watch multiple markets? I always tell traders that are brand new to trading, or still trying to find their way and become a consistent and receive payouts, to focus on one market, maybe two, because each market has its unique fingerprint or unique characteristics. For example, the NASDAQ is kind of wild and crazy versus like the ES is a little bit more tame and it's not as crazy. What's your thoughts on that, given that you said you'll trade anything?
Yeah, so you definitely have to know the personality of a market, right? If I am taking a trade in corn, for example, I have to widen my time horizons, right? Where corn can have some volatile moves just like the NASDAQ does. But if I'm in a trade in corn and I'm trying to get level to level, it's probably not a trade that I want to look at on a 3-minute chart, right? Where it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour for anything to even happen. So it's just not beneficial to look at it on a per tick basis. But then personality of the NASDAQ is going to happen very quick. That's why a lot of traders are attracted to it. It moves fast. You can pay closer attention to it. So definitely, if you're going to switch around markets, you do want to know its personality. A very easy way to see it is if I look at a 10-year note chart and I'm on a 3-minute chart. If the chart looks like this on the time frame that you trade, it's probably a good decision to zoom out and look at a higher time frame.
Yeah.
Because if I'm trading the notes, it's not going to happen in 3 minutes.
Fair enough. Well, before we get started, let's go ahead and do our rapid fire. I already see some questions coming into the chat. Number one, why slow markets? And that's because this is the Asian session. The markets are typically slower than the New York session. There's a lot less volatility, a lot less volume. Sometimes we have news events, and sometimes it can be volatile, but it is slow markets. It's a lot slower pace. You can obviously tell by the way the markets are moving most of the time at this time of day during the Asian session. And then the last one, Coach Dakota, can you tell us something about a VIP group you will be having in the future? So I don't know if you know this, Coach Jay, but I've been teasing. I don't have the details on it yet. I will be teasing that I possibly will be doing more of a more, how do we say this? Invite only group session, not so much like what you do with the other coaches where it's a VIP that Coach Hoop's going to be doing, which is absolutely amazing. I don't think it's going to be like that yet. Like I said, I don't have the details, so like don't take this as
it's a work in progress.
Don't quote me on this, but I want to be able to do something for the traders that are a private session. Yeah, that's right. Session or sessions maybe, but I want to do something for the viewers and the traders who come to my slow markets each night on a more consistent basis. I feel like we have a big class, and sometimes I don't get to all the questions, and the traders who are here every single night, I want to do something for them, be able to give back to the traders who are basically watching me every single night. So I don't know the details. The only thing I do know is that if I had my way, I would be choosing the traders that I recognize the most in the chat. For example,
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I see you guys. I watch the chat every single night for an hour and a half. I know who's here. I know who's not. And the more you come to class, sort of speak, the more I can recognize. And I don't know how big it's going to be. I don't know all the details, but it's going to be more private. And I don't know. I don't even know if I could compare it to a VIP that you guys do, because it's two different things. Like I said, stay tuned. I teased it. It should hopefully motivate everybody to tune in each night, or even watch the recordings, and maybe comment in my Slack, not Slack, the Discord channel. I don't know about the whole Twitter thing, Coach Jay, but yeah, I'm trying to get a lot more involved in the community and continuing to give back as you guys have. I've enjoyed this. I really have.
Yeah, it has been great. It's been great. It's a lot of fun. Even interacting on Twitter. My goal, as long as I'm on Twitter, is to stay out of any Twitter beef. We are here to help people talk about trading, have fun, and just enjoy life. So any Twitter beef, you will not find Jay in there. Likes on Twitter are hidden now. So if I like, I might like some Twitter beef, but I'm not ever going to comment on it. I'm
with you. I mean, there's entertainment and then there's professionalism. I'm with you. I've started it. You, Nick, and I don't know, maybe I'm probably missing somebody, but going in it, I love approaching it from the professional side, staying out of the drama, staying out of the BS of the social media and all of those weeds, and trying to bring that professionalism in that space. I've talked about it before, but anyway, let's get to these markets. Here's the NASDAQ on the daily chart. Let me switch to my charts, and yeah, sure enough, so far so good. This is proven to be a higher low, and so now those FOMC minutes was not anything special. We didn't have a dramatic move in either direction, but a higher low. And now let's see if we can make a higher high. The area or the zone that I'm going to be targeting is going to be right here in these 20,800. So we do have some room to get to the first levels to see if we can have a breakout of this. Maybe what do we say this is a zone? Maybe 540 to 590 level. If we look back in July, what is this? July 11th, we had a nice, July 11th, July 12th, we had a pivot there. And then again, we've seen some hesitation on, July 3rd. And then we are right in this area in near the mid to end of June. So we still have this zone to get through. And then, of course, hitting, 20,800s and then maybe all-time highs. It's crazy times, Coach Jay. And I know it's all fun and we're talking about, all-time highs. But I do want to ask your opinions on this as we continue to have these very bullish moves in the markets. There's a lot going on, and it seems like there's always a lot going on. And I don't want to be talking politics because we're traders and we want to talk markets. Do you ever have any fear when you're trading with everything that's going on around the world, like war, and we're talking about this crazy hurricane where it's, I think it's hitting Florida as we speak, which is a scary
Currently.
thought.
Yep.
I mean, with heavy hearts thinking about that. And then the interest rates and inflation, and then we're just what got through the strike at the port. And it just seems like we're always going through stuff.
For sure.
And here we are getting ready with air horns, making highs. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Does that give you any fear or hesitation to when you're trading? I don't know.
So
what's your thoughts on that?
the one thing about long-term investments, they are what they are. They're going to sit there, and I have those to not look at them. The one thing I do like about day trading is that you're only at risk when you have a position on, and you get to decide when you put that position on, right? So there's a lot more control. With there being a lot more control, there's a lot more opportunity for downside as well. But I think what we do as day traders kind of innately allows us to take advantage of that volatility or, the uncertainty to either side. So for me, I'm always going to try to go to a technical setup, regardless of what happens, right? Coach Paul and I say it all the time that news expedites a move. So a lot of times if we have a technical setup, there's a headline. The headline and the market reaction goes right to where we expected it to technically, or around where we expected it to go technically. And then have a stop, right? Regardless of what happens, I could be in this platinum trade and, a headline comes out and says, there's more supply for platinum than there is demand ever in the history of the world, and platinum drops 500 points. If I have a stop that's 5 points away, I might hit some slippage if the move is that dramatic, but I get to decide exactly how much the market's going to hurt me. So I don't think there's much of a reason to be scared. Now, if you're not in a trade and you see the volatility, you see books start to thin out, it's not being afraid, it's being aware of the situation and maybe not wanting to put on a position when, risk is at a high.
Man, I couldn't have said that better myself. I mean, it's slow markets. There's a few times where we've been here and some crazy dramatic news has happened. I remember the end of July, beginning of August, where we're sitting here, and the next thing we know, the market's down like 3%, and it's just like, wow. That's why we have stop losses. As a day trader, when we put a trade on and you have a stop loss, your risk is there. And traders ask me all the time, how do you sleep over the night? I'm like, well, knowing that I have a stop loss, I sleep pretty dang good because you just prepare for the worst. What's the worst thing that could happen? It could stop me out and I could get a $500 loss, plus some slippage. That's the reality of what we do, right? We place a trade, we put money at risk. We know that at any minute, anything can happen. And what's going on in the outside world, it doesn't affect us to the point to make us a trade decision because we want to trade what's in front of us. We trade the charts. If anything, I'm a trader who loves liquidity. And so when we see liquidity and we get liquidity and we see volatility, right? Then there's opportunities, right? Good or bad, and everything that's going on in this world, trying to get our own opinions away from our trading. We don't want our opinions affecting the way we trade, and we do not want our emotions affecting the way that we trade, because more times than not, it ends in a negative way where we might be thinking one thing and the market's going to be doing another. So That being said, thanks for the answer. I mean, I couldn't have said it better.
It's a great question.
Been getting a lot of questions on that, and it's always great to get your opinion on that, Coach Jay. So Anyway, looking for us to test these highs, break into possibly these 500s. If we could see these 500s and make a higher high. So we already made a higher low. Let's see if we can make a higher high. It's going to be interesting to see how we react there. Let's take a look at the 1 hour chart. Another crazy day in the markets. It's very, very bullish. This is an hourly chart. You could see this, higher low that I was talking about. And as we start to zoom in, we have broke through this area. Rest in peace that long that I was trying to get into on those lower 200s. But you could see we had that nice rally. We had that pullback. I had a lot of traders asking me what I was looking for that long. I mean, there was a few things lining up in that area to enter that trade and look for a move higher. Well, we did get that breakout. We did not come back down and retest it. And you could see over here on the left-hand side, maybe we could get to 530s tomorrow. I'm not sure. This market is very bullish, and there's a lot of momentum to the long side, looking to be buying pullbacks until there's a change in this market behavior. So looking for a pullback to buy, and long bias. Anything that you have on the NASDAQ, Coach Jay? I'll switch it to your charts.
I'm with you on that. We did break out of that range that we were in. We know we had the headlines last week about the war, and that kind of sold us off. We chopped around in that range for a little bit. Today, we broke out of that, closed significantly out of it. So yeah, I'm looking for pullbacks to buy this market as well. We do know we have CPI tomorrow, PPI on Friday, so that's going to tell us a lot. But these markets look strong right now.
Yeah. Would you ever look for opportunities to take short scalps? For me, I would be waiting for like 530. Once we get to the highs of, I think even Hogue said weekly kickoff high is what, 530s?
It's somewhere up there. Yep. 2530. Yep, exactly 2530.
Yeah, so to me, it's just going to be, it's very difficult to take a short until we get up there. If I am going to take a short, it's going to be really quick for a scalp. Just looking for a pullback, ultimately to get into a long position, targeting that for a target. Someone's shouting out in the chat, platinum.
Yeah, it never came back and got me. I need to find a quicker way to measure risk on some of these trades, because that one lot right now is up $160, and platinum is one that can trend when it wants to. So it is what it is. What I always look at when the trades go without me is just like, hey, the concept was right. So I'll lean on that and count my monopoly money.
Yeah, what do you mean it didn't come back and get you? Did I miss something?
So I took the original trade I took was in an ineligible combine because I just wanted to measure the risk without actually putting the trade on. And then I switched back to my XFAs and put an entry where I really want to get in. I canceled that bid now because the move is already going. And if we get back to where my entry was, I don't know if I like the trade there. So yeah, it's hanging out in an ineligible combine right now. I made a joke, Dakota, last week. And sometimes you got to be careful what you joke about, that I'm going to, make it a habit of putting on good trades in slow markets in an account that doesn't matter. I'm 3 for 3. So I take back that joke, market gods. I did not mean that. We want to take all the good trades in the accounts that matter.
Hey, that's how it works sometimes, Jay, is like practice accounts are so easy to make money and it feels like, where you just either don't trade about, you either don't care about the trade and you place it because it's a good trade, and there's absolutely no emotions involved in that type of account. You're like, it doesn't really matter, this is a good trade. You place it, it's a setup, you have no hesitation, and then you're a little bit more, what do we want to call it, hesitant and trying to find either a better trade location and you manage it more. Man, I don't know. It's just, there is definitely a psychological thing in between the two. I think I see it all the time in my own trading sometimes. See it in the house account as well, where some of the best house account trades are like, we're just going to throw a one lot on there, or a small trade size.
A feeler trade.
Yeah, feeler trade. And then they hit like 30, 50 points with one or two contracts. And then some of those bigger sizes, as we know, are the ones that like don't even ever, like doesn't even, does not even go
It's like,
into our favor at all.
ever. Yeah, just immediate drawdown. It's like, nope, you are 100% wrong about this trade.
Yeah.
Here's a $10,000 loss.
Instant drawdown.
Want to try again? Right. Right.
And then even it was like, okay, let's just be patient. Let's wait. And let's only get in when it goes into our favor. Goes up, hits the tick, and then just immediately. We experienced that a few times as well.
Markets are going to market.
Yes. We seen it today where if you guys missed it during Power Hour, David Green and I, we were looking to buy the NASDAQ at like, what was it, like 429. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a short scalp to get there. We got to 429 and a half, and we didn't get in the trade, and it instantly just bounced, like just 40 points. I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, if it's a good trade location, it doesn't last very long.
We got a question here real quick, if I can answer this one, Dakota, because it's relevant to this platinum trade. Farmarama asks, could you explain why the 30-minute opening range is significant? This is not going to sound like a great answer. It's just because it's significant. And the reason it is I've looked at that 30-minute opening range on, feels like tens of thousands of charts at this point, right? Where different markets. I've literally, I'm not even joking, gone back and back tested some of the opening range trades that I use on years of data, right? There was a weekend where I said, I'm going to look at the last 3 years of the NASDAQ and look at this 3-minute opening range trade for every day. Sometimes there's not a better answer than that, right? It's just, I've seen it so many times that I can trust that it has a high probability of working. There's no guarantees, but I'm not going to waste the efforts of looking through three years of data and not taking a trade. So with the 30-minute, I don't have as much data, but it's significant enough for me to trust taking a trade on it.
Fair enough. And I missed along in the crude oil. Let's go back to my charts. Take a look at crude, Coach Jay. I missed this. We had this massive sell-off, and take a look here. This is an hourly chart. This is a very textbook trade. This was resistance. This was resistance. Big sell-off. We tested this once, and we went down, and we hit it again. And if traders that's been with me for a while in slow markets, I love when crude oil makes a run of liquidity or whatever we want to call it, a nice spike down and reverse. And like I said last night, I want to be a buyer of crude. I want to be a buyer of crude. This gave a good opportunity right around, we even got down as low as 71.50s. And tonight, take a look at this. This is a breakout. And so the question is, I think we could very well possibly see, are we going to see 74 and a quarter? And this is going to be the first area, if we can hold this breakout, that we could go up to 74 and a quarter. And then if we break through that, then my next targets are going to be probably right around there, right around 75 again. So yeah, maybe I wait for a pullback and see if we could retest this. Like as this is starting to break out, maybe look for a pullback and a retest, or even something like this to where I can look for some targets. But that was the trade. That was definitely the trade. I missed it. If we start to zoom into a 5-minute chart, you could see it a little bit better, where I think I even talked about this during Power Hour, where I was seeing this as here's a low, here's a higher low, and sure enough, there it is. And there's that same signal twice. Look at this. I talk about this sometimes in crude. It's not always this beautiful or perfect, but look, here's a low, there's a run of liquidity, or a run of stops, or whatever you want to call it, and there's the rally. And then here it is again. Here's a low, there's a stop run, and then the rally. Here it is one more time.
I got my micro crude. I got stopped out on that stop run. I should have been taking more notes on slow markets.
Down here or somewhere down here?
Yeah, I was long at I think I was long at like 72.06.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is what I like to see in crude. Sometimes when I see this low, and I've done it a few times, and I've explained it where, so let's say if we were down here. Now this is hindsight. Take it. Sometimes I like to put a buy limit down below that previous low. I mean, it's hard to predict it. I mean, here's this one right back earlier, but Crude likes to do this. It really does. It's not always this textbook. And of course, with hindsight, it's easier to go back and see it and talk about it. But yeah, that's it. That's it. This was the higher low, and we've kind of making this. It's not pretty. It's not very. It doesn't look as good, but this is a pattern. This is kind of a pretty bullish type pattern. If we break out, I could see us getting to these previous highs, which you guys could see that here. These are zones. I could see us getting to like 74, 74 and a quarter. And then the next level is going to be up near this area, above $75 a barrel. Thoughts on Crude? You said you traded Crude. What were you looking at?
Yeah, I was looking to the long side as well. I was trading micros, and just got in a little bit too early. I didn't realize that today was inventory day, and I probably would have waited until inventories came out and then taken the trade after, because we got a quick flush right before inventories happened, and then the market popped right back up to where I was in. I just didn't have to. I wouldn't have had to sit through this unnecessary drawdown. So it's pretty much the same thing, right? Kind of looking at these lows potentially at 72, looking to get in on that area. My stop was just a little bit too tight. But yeah, looking for the same thing. And now, maybe a potential to get back into this, to trade up towards those 75s. But yeah, I like buying Crude as well.
Okay. I mean, that's about it. Looking for areas to buy it. Nikkei. Have you traded Nikkei, Coach Jay?
Not recently. Not recently. I think one of the ineligible combine trades that I took last week was actually on the Nikkei.
Okay.
It worked out.
You're just amazing at those ineligible combine trades.
Practice account Warren Buffett.
Fair enough. Man, I could have so many jokes on that one. I'm going to stay away from that like a good person. But look at this. If you remember a while ago, I mean, here's that same pattern. This is very clean. Take a look at these higher lows. I mean, it's a very, very clean pattern in terms of higher low, higher low, higher low, equal high, equal high, equal high. And we could break and head back down towards 38,000 to the downside, or we could break to the north side, and then I'm going to be watching to see if we could get up here towards some of the July, like 41,000 up in that area. So this is a flagging pattern. I'm looking at this as a bullish flagging pattern, but if we do break to the downside, it could get ugly, and we know how the Nikkei can move. Exhibit A, take a look at that move from 40,060 all the way down to 37,500. But we're getting to a decision zone where we know things are starting to squeeze, and when it's consolidating, then it will start to expand or break out in either direction. And so this is something I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be wanting it. Wanting is not the right thing to say. But I'm going to be looking for this to break out to the long side. But being aware that if we do start to break this low, then we could take a trade to the short side. Thoughts on that one, Jay?
Yeah, it looks like it. I leave the Nikkei to you. I've traded it a couple of times and had some, varying success with it. I leave that one to you. From a technical perspective, I see exactly what you're seeing, and it looks like it needs to make a decision right around here. If I look at, how Coach Paul uses these moving averages, the 200 moving average on the 30-minute, we're above it, which is this white line on my chart here, which means that this market is in a pretty strong uptrend, maybe a little bit of a pullback right here. So somewhere near those 39,500s to look potentially to get into a buy there. Yeah, it looks good though. It's in an uptrend.
Okay, fair enough. And then moving on to gold. Do you want to pull up gold, Coach Jay? It is 8:02 p.m. Central, and typically we've seen a spike in volatility right at 8 p.m. Central.
Yeah, I have gold up here now. Gold has been selling off the last couple of sessions. And in this downtrend, I was looking to be a buyer in gold pretty much all last week, but we were in that chop range, and now it looks like we're selling off a bit. When Coach Paul and I talked about this a little, I'm seeing more potential downside in gold to around 25.50. Yeah, 25.60.
25.50. Okay.
Yeah, so right now we're trading 26.27. I'm looking for a potential downside to 25.70. Yeah, we'll call it 25.70 on gold.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, because that was the resistance. That's where we broke out. We pulled back. We tested that right around 25. I see 25.70s, 25.75. I mean, it's a zone, right? So the first test for me is if we could get below 26.16. 26.16 would be an area.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I could see. That looks like it's the. Is that the when they did the rate cut? That candle.
Yes.
Right,
yeah. So we're testing that candle right now, right? We're testing the high of that candle right now.
Of where they cut rates. This is bullish to me right here, Coach Jay. I could see us bouncing. Okay. Let me show you on my charts. That's exactly what I was looking at. Like, this is the rate cut candle. There's like lots of support. We held again. And so I am going to see if we can break to the long side and maybe look for a continuation up to 26.30s, 39s. And gold could move. Gold could move fast. Let's take a look at the 5-minute. I'll kind of show you what I'm looking at. This is a consolidation zone or a range, and we're down here at the lows. And if we're going to consolidate, I could see maybe we run up to these highs. Like, that is a possibility that I'm watching. Is 26.40 would be the high that I would be targeting. One other thing that I'm seeing is, could this be a breakout? Like, are we just starting to break out as we're talking about it? I'm not sure. It's very hard. If so, my entry would have been. It's a little too late for me to get in it right now, Coach Jay.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. For a trade right now trade, I definitely see some room potentially up to 26.30s. On a higher time frame, I think I want to look for sell opportunities here, but I will take a counter trend trade if it presents itself in the moment. And yeah, it's breaking out of, again, that same white box that I have here is 30-minute opening range. It looks like it's trying to leave the range. I would just be looking for some volume to pick up to actually go. But yeah, I can almost, we talked about this last Friday, Dakota, I could almost make a case to buy or sell any market, which I don't think is always a great thing, because sometimes it's just like, just make a decision and go with that. But yeah, I can make a case for both.
I mean, that's something about the markets, right? Both sides make a market, and I mean, especially when we're in a decision zone. I mean, when you're in a decision zone, like, that's exactly what it's there for. It's a support resistance zone where buyers are looking to buy it there and sellers are wanting to sell it there. And yeah, I mean, that's all it is when we're down here, sellers are going to look for it to break through and a breakout trade. Buyers are going to look for a reversal and look for us to, reverse and go back up to those highs. Like, that's what it is. And that's the beautiful thing about a market.
Yep, absolutely. And what I feel like, when I can make a strong case for either side, that's usually the market telling me not to do anything, because it's not clear. At least, for me looking at this right now, it's not clear which way it wants to go or which way it is going. So when I can make a strong case for both, it's probably better to just stay out.
Yeah, fair enough. And I agree with you. You don't want to be forcing trades. And sometimes when you are indecisive, the best decision is no decision.
Yep.
Let's take a look. NASDAQ's breaking out a little bit. NASDAQ's looking pretty bullish. Can we see NASDAQ get to 500 tonight?
It's right there. It's right there, right? Big fat round number. We didn't hit it during the New York session, and kind of continue. I'm hearing Hogue tomorrow already saying we have a late spike. We ended with the day with a late spike. We're trading in that late spike right now. Shout out to you, Hogue, if you are watching. But we're kind of trading in that right now. And if we hold it for continuation higher. I
hear Hogue saying we're like at the weekly kickoff high, which is the 533. That's what I'm hearing right now in my head is weekly kickoff high.
Yep. And should we just sell one just because, right? Yeah.
Sell one for the rally.
Exactly.
We've heard Hogue say that a
Exactly.
few times.
Too many times.
I am liking this NASDAQ long. I am in micros, and I'm going to just go ahead and join this. See if we can catch a break. Let's see if we could catch.
Targeting 5?
Yeah, I'm in. I'm going to see if the first target I'm looking at is 475, 20,475. We'll see. We will definitely see. This is kind of a whipsaw zone where if we fell, we could get back down into the middle of this range, and it's going to be one where it's like, oh man, you just bought the highs. I'm like, yeah, it's a breakout trade. That's the risk, is you
Right.
risk buying the highs on the breakout trade to the long side.
And
But
you
if
did
you
it
were
with micros,
trading,
right? So you're already managing your risk.
yeah, and if you was trading at all today or the day before, you buy a breakout. Yeah, you're buying the highs, but 5 minutes later, we continue to make new highs. So we'll see. It's only one micro. And I might add a couple more if we get to these lower 50s towards my stop loss.
Nice.
But we'll see. I'm seeing if 470s. 470s looks to me like the target area I would like to see.
Is this a slow market trade where one you would leave on, or are you just looking for a target while we're here and in the short time frame?
Right now it's just a short time frame because I'm seeing this set up on such a smaller time frame. But if we do get a nice break and I get into like 1 or 2 micros, maybe even 5 micros, I could take some off for profits. I could see this turning into a slow markets trade and holding some of them overnight.
Nice. So see what develops and then go from there.
Correct. Yep.
Makes
Seeing what
sense.
develops and go from there. That is 100% correct. So while we go through this, let's get to some questions. You see any, Coach Jay? We do have news tomorrow. We're always waiting on news. What's your expectations tomorrow, and what are we looking for?
Volatility. My expectations of volatility. I know a lot of the focus has been lately on the jobs numbers and not
Okay.
the inflation numbers as much. If we look at, I think we do have jobs numbers tomorrow as well. Yeah. So we have jobless claims and CPI. I think that is just, 2 really big catalysts for volatility. I am not going to try to have an opinion on either. I just want to see how the market responds to it. But I think those jobless, the labor market data has, to me, seemed more impactful to market movement, especially with the NASDAQ and the ES, than some of the inflation data recently. But that could change tomorrow.
Tomorrow is inflation data, right?
Jobless claims and inflation data.
It's
So
both.
CPI and jobless claims both at 8:30. Yep.
Okay. And you're seeing the jobs have a bigger impact than inflation lately.
From what I've seen.
What do you think the reason is? Do you think it's just like we're kind of past the inflation data and we're kind of focusing on the jobs market? And we did have FOMC minutes come out today. So maybe that is part of it, why it's going to be. I mean, both are equally important and both is going to be
for sure.
volatility. Do you look at one and you trade it any differently?
I won't trade them differently. I'm going to trade them the same way. For me, I'm going to stay out and allow that first 3-minute candle to print. Since I look at a 3-minute chart,
Okay.
let that candle print. I'm going to frame out the high and the low, and I'm going to attach a VWAP to it, and just let the market tell me how it feels about that print. Right. So I do it for every news candle that there is. If someone could put in the chat what the last CPI print was, I'll go back and look at the charts and show you exactly how I would frame it out. But I'm going to do the same thing every time. Frame out the high and low of the candle.
There's your charts. Let's see if we can find it, because I'm curious as well.
Anyone remember what the last CPI print was? What day it was? Somebody could pull that up in the chat. I know chat has it. Chat has everything.
Chat has everything. I rely on the chat, maybe sometimes a little bit too much, Coach Jay, with asking
much.
questions
Yeah,
and
sure.
finding out information. It's like
see
market
if I can
drops
Google it real
400
quick.
points in a minute. I'm like, oh, I have no idea. Let's wait till the YouTube chat tells me. And then I make a...
Last CPI print was... Okay, there we go. Thank you, Kyung. Was on September 11th. So if we look at it here, Uh, all right, so you can see my charts, 3-minute chart. This is the CPI print. I don't want to try to trade in this because I can't manage my risk. I don't know what the reaction is going to be, but I'm going to anchor a view up to there, frame out the high and the low of the candle, and trade it the same way I would trade a 3-minute opening range, a 30-minute opening range, whatever it is. This VWAP never technically left the range to the upside or the downside. So what that tells me is range bound market, although we have expanded ranges, right? So any peaks outside of this range are opportunities to fade the extremes if volume doesn't go with it. And if you remember, Dakota, September 11th was that day where we were down 1.5% and then rallied 4% into the close.
Right.
So that's how I'm looking at it there.
Okay. That makes sense. And
Right.
you do that
I want to know what that
with each news event that we run into, right?
each news event we have. Yep. Just frame out the candle and see how the market responds near the edges of those candles.
Fair enough. We are selling off here a little bit on the NASDAQ. I'm going to go ahead and add another micro on this one.
Okay.
So I'm into micros. And we'll see. Same stop loss. Like I said, this is where the trade's going to be invalid, is right here in these 40s. I'm going to leave it a little bit lower. And this is looking a little bit like we're hesitating to break out. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. Small size. And I don't mind it.
Oh, that's important. I was looking to see if platinum was going to come back down and actually give me the entry that I wanted, but it's kind of just hanging out here. I still really like the trade. I think what I'll do is I may just put that entry back on, and I know what the risk is going to be. If we do get any kind of quick flush back to that range, I do want to get into this trade. So
okay,
I'll put my order back on there.
And you're looking at, yeah, I'll switch back to your charts. Go ahead.
I'm looking at the platinum, 961. I'm looking to get in where this white line left this white range. That's telling me buyers are in control right now. I'm looking for sellers to try to push back into this range, get rejected, and now I'm in a better position than whoever's has their average price up here.
Okay, that makes sense.
But we may not get it.
We're seeing a bounce here.
NASDAQ or?
Yeah, a little bit in the NASDAQ.
Oh yeah.
We just wait and watch.
Not much else to do. So if you guys have any questions in the chat, let us know. I think I see some here. I'm going to scan through the questions real quick, Dakota, and see if we got some.
And I'll be watching this market. I'm watching this trade, see if I want to add to it or I might cut it a little bit early.
Here's a good question, Dakota. Kind of relevant to a trade that you have on right now.
Okay.
Do you use more size when you see an A+ setup in the market?
No, I do not. It would make sense, and it depends on your strategy. That is a very valid reason to change your position size. But to me, it's always depends on my stop loss. I look and I see how much am I going to risk, and then based off of how much I'm going to risk, I will change my position sizing on where my stop loss would be. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think very similar to you kind of know what a max allocation is, right? So I know when you were kind of building those XFAs, you were saying, hey, I'm doing this with a max 3-lot position. So that's the most. But outside of that, like I'm not going to go say, hey, this is an A+ setup. My max allocation is 3, but this one is so good, I'm going to put on 30. So for me, it's max allocation is 3, the same way as Dakota. And I'll start smaller if I don't have as much confidence, if that makes sense. And then I'll build up to 3.
Okay.
But outside of that, no. I know max size I'm going to use is 3, and that's about it.
Fair enough. That makes sense to me because that's kind of what I do is I look at my risk first, and then as I gain confidence, I could add to that position. But my risk, I try and make sure that does not change because it's like I'm going to risk $500. That $500 is going to be either 1 contract, 2 contracts, 3 contracts, 4 contracts, depending on how tight my stop loss is, depending on what market I'm trading as well. Obviously, if we're trading the NASDAQ, then not as many contracts versus like crude oil, right? If I'm trading crude oil, then maybe it could be three or four contracts. So some more contracts than the NASDAQ or the ES or Nikkei, right? Nikkei is $25 per tick. I'm not going to be trading like 5 contracts on the Nikkei very often. Comparing it to like crude oil. So it just really depends. I look at it in terms of either a percentage risk or a dollar amount risk, where I just want to risk a dollar amount or a percentage, and then let that dictate how many contracts I'm going to be in for that trade.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. That's always the question. I mean, it's a good one, and it's one that I think a lot of traders go through as well as they start to learn like what position sizing should I use, how big. There is a valid argument, because I do sometimes think of that myself, is like I'm only going to look for A+ setups. But then if I see a C setup, I still want to place it, but then maybe I use a smaller trade size. And then when I see an A+ setup, I use bigger trade size. But then I myself find I get into a situation where when I win, it's those C+ or C setups that I trade the small size. And then if I lose, it's that A+ setup. And like, well, that was kind of stupid. So I like that consistent sizing. So I don't, and maybe it's just me for my process and my systematic way of like every single I trade, I place. I want it to be the same, because I don't know which ones are going to be the winners, and I do not know which ones are going to be the losers. I just want to make sure it's consistent, and I don't want to mix it up. So if I'm going to place a trade, every trade I place, I'm looking for it to make money. I don't really classify them.
Makes sense to me. Scanning to see if we have any other questions. I got one from Alan. How do you see volume come into the market? For me, I'm looking at time and sales. I'm looking at a volume indicator, and I'm looking at VWAP. I'm just going from there. There are a bunch of different ways you can do it. For me, I learned how to do it on time and sales, so that's always going to be on my screen. But time and sales, volume, and VWAP.
Okay. I did add to this. I'm in 3 micros now in the NASDAQ, switching it back to my charts, looking for this thing to break out, seeing if we could come back up to these 60s. We found some buyers right there at this 50 to 50, these lower 50s. And yeah, so far I am liking it. I might continue to add. I'm perfectly fine with risking, $300 to $400 in a trade. And so depending on how this thing sets up, depending on how, here's a good example, right? Start off with 1 contract, and if I continue to like this, and if it goes in my direction, I will continue to add to it.
Yeah. It's not doing anything that you don't like, right? It's kind of hanging out where your average entry is, giving you an opportunity to add to a trade that you still see, and it's holding the high of this range. Looks good.
Yeah,
and I'm scanning around to see if anything else is moving, and it's really, I'm not seeing anything great.
The definition of slow markets, right?
Practicing my patience.
Practice your patience. There's always an opportunity to practice patience in these markets. That's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and add here. I am liking this more and more on a breakout.
What? How many are you in now? Is that 5?
5 micros. 5 micros. Nice. Risking only $91 now. Here it is. Looking good. Let's see if we get that follow through into those 60s. Still not a lot of risk. And then if we continue to slowly go up, I could easily continue to add until we break out, and keeping my stop loss the same. Even there's even a chance that I could just tighten up this stop loss. Instead of risking 90, I could risk like 60, 69, and then add to it. And so just because I'm adding and building a position doesn't mean my risk is getting greater sometimes. A lot of times, like if we consolidate and we start to break out and I start to add, I like to move my stop loss sometimes. Do you ever build into positions or scale in, scale out?
Yeah, definitely. I had a YM short today that I was trying to build into. I'd originally had a three contract short, trimmed some of the position when it it went in my favor, so secured some profits, trailed the exit into profit, and then while it was looking to break down, I was looking to add some of the contracts back on. Ultimately, I was adding at the low of the move and
Okay.
wound up getting stopped out on those ads. But yeah, I will add to a position for sure.
Fair enough. I'm not
It's what I'm
liking that
looking
we
to do on
rejected those.
some fast markets trades.
Yeah, I don't like reject those upper 50s. Like I said, slow markets, lots of chop on a lower time frame. Stop loss is there, risking $91 on this. I only martingale. Have you ever used martingale, Coach Jay?
I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you.
No? Okay, I'm going to explain to you what martingale is. Martingale, it's... You probably Google it, and I do not advise this. This is not advice. It's not something I will ever recommend. But essentially, think of a roulette table, okay, Coach Jay? Red or black. And you put money on red, and if it goes black, you just double it. And then if you lose it, you double it again. And it's essentially the idea that you can keep doubling it. Eventually, you'll be correct, and then you'll win your money back. It's a very dangerous strategy.
It sounds like it.
And I will never recommend that for trading or for anything. It's one of those where it's like it works until it doesn't. But then when it doesn't, your account's blown. It's like you win $1, you win $1. When you win $1, you could win $1 for like 400 days. And then that one day you lose, you blow the account.
So I actually don't see anything wrong with half of that. I don't see anything wrong with the getting back into the same trade if the information is still valid and you get stopped out, right? Because if we think about it, and Dakota, you're really good at this, the setups that you see, and someone asked, do you have the exact stats on your trades? The setups that you see, to a high probability that they're going to work. So you're comfortable with saying, hey, well, that one got stopped out. That just might be one of the percentages where it didn't work. So I'm just going to try it again. The only problem with doubling that position is that next one could be one of the percentages where it doesn't work, where, some of our best strategies are 60% probability, 70% probability.
Yeah.
30% is a lot, right? So you could have a streak of just 5-10 losers, and doubling down every time is a quick way to either a max loss limit or a margin call.
Yep, 100%. And that's why they have max bets at casinos, because it's not the right thing to do, and I'll never recommend it. It's proper risk management. It's easier to get out and then back in. For example,
sure.
like if this stops me out and then maybe we set up again and consolidate and start to look to break out, I might add this up. I don't mind taking like a $100 loss and then maybe another $100 loss, and then you guys probably see I've done it countless times live where I take a lot of losses and then a couple trades and I'm in the positive, and it's just risk reward where we're looking for good risk reward setups, cutting your losses short, and I don't mind having a 30% win rate. I just know that I'm going to lose 7 out of 10 times. Could you demonstrate how would you go about closing some of your position? Yeah, well, hopefully we could demonstrate that here. This is my live account, so I'm not just going to demonstrate it just because. Yeah, so hopefully I try and do that every class. If I do see a good trade setup, I'm going to take that and hopefully demonstrate to everybody how I trade that. That's the goal here. So we'll see. This one, I'm not too ecstatic about this trade just because I wanted us to break out a lot sooner. It is slow markets, so markets tend to take its time. We could have a 10-point move in any direction. That's the thing about a low liquidity market, like what we're seeing tonight. But yeah, if this does start to break out, sometimes it happens during class. Sometimes it doesn't. That's the point of having a live class. It's live. The market never acts the way we want it to in a live environment. And I try and do those demonstrations.
Dakota, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I heard you say, I think sometime last week, that someone asked where you learned how to trade, and you said initially you taught yourself, and then you paid attention to Tom Sosnoff for options, and you learned from I can't remember your mentor's name, but you learned from him as well. What percentage of your trading would you say is experimental, where you heard someone talk about a concept and then you just played around with that concept until it made sense to you?
Ooh, interesting. I wouldn't call him a mentor, Jay. It's just someone that
Okay.
I've watched. I mean, yeah, I guess you can. I mean, it depends on what your definition of mentor is, but a
Right.
lot. I mean, it was a lot of my learning and experiences like through trial and error, where you see someone, you try and learn a trade concept, you practice it, you learn the hard way, you lose and you lose and you feel all sad and depressed, and you go through it over and over and over again, um, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe this particular strategy is just not right. Well, it's like, well, it kind of clicked sometimes, Coach Jay, where I learn a strategy and I practice it,
Hmm.
and then I fail at it, and then like, well, this strategy just sucks. It's not right. But then
Right.
realizing it's not the strategy, it's me. Um,
Right.
there's a lot of great strategies out there. There's a lot of successful traders, and I've talked to some successful traders who's like, yeah, this is my strategy, and will give me their strategy to the T, exactly what they do, and they explain to me exactly how they execute it, but then I can't duplicate it because
Right.
there's so much when it comes to intangibles, Coach Jay. Um, and that comes from possibly market experience and these different market conditions and
Yep.
how they execute their strategies when those market conditions change, that you can't really, that's hard to teach. I know it's in
It is.
sports. What do you call it? The intangibles, the,
Intangibles. Yep.
yeah. So how do you
Intangibles.
teach
That's
that?
exactly
How
it.
would you teach somebody? How do you do that in the VIP class?
You encourage exploration. You encourage people to find the wrong answer. And that's why I asked you the question. And this is for anyone that's listening in chat as well. I see some of the comments that we get and questions that we get. I get it. You guys are saying, well, hey, how exactly do you enter this trade and this trade? I can tell you, but I think more than anything, regardless of who you're learning from, try to get an understanding of how they look at the market and then put it in your own words, right? So it makes sense to you. And I really want to encourage that because, again, you may see something that I don't see, right? You may see something that Dakota might tell you about a 3-bar reversal, and you find just by exploration, you find a 16-bar reversal or something crazy that no one else would look at, but it helps you make sense of the market, right? So, for example, I'm using this anchored VWAP strategy. Shout out to Big Sexy that's in Discord all the time. Uh, but he's just like, hey, Jay, I see this using this pattern. Now I see this. And he's seeing things that I don't see. And you're not going to do that if you ask me for the answers every time, right? Or Dakota for the answers every time, right? So get a general like base for how you want to look at the market and then explore, right? Really explore. You don't have to explore with real risk involved, right? That's why we can backtest. That's why there's practice accounts and all that other stuff. But I want to challenge everybody to find how you see the markets, right? You might see something I don't, and I could learn something from you.
Hmm. I did add a couple contracts to that, Coach Jay. We pushed up
There you
there
go.
to those mid 50s again. We're just kind of consolidating right here. I might just get out of this because that's twice we rejected. Um, yeah, you know what? I'm out. Minus $100 on that trade. If it sets up again, I don't mind placing it. I just did not like that we rejected again, and well, that saved me just a little bit because it would have stopped me out.
Yep.
Well, let's see how we react here. Because if we reject these 40s, then maybe we could set this up again. And yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
It happens, man. It's just one trade.
Yeah, yeah. Easier to get out and back in than to hold, where sometimes the market could drop in 10 points or bounce in 10 points very unexpectedly.
Again, scanning around to see what's moving. Again, slow markets. Platinum is really the best trade that I see out there, and I'm in an account that is. Okay, here we go. As soon as I
Seeing
say
your
that, we get a
charts.
little bit of a
Yeah, we're
we get
seeing
a
your
little bit of
charts
a
now.
pullback. Getting a little bit of a pullback here. Let me make sure I still have my entry in there. Yep. It's the best trade I see out there right now. Percentage wise, it's the biggest mover. platinum and nat gas, and that's why I'm in this. But we got people saying gold selling off.
Seeing a little bit of move in the markets.
Yeah,
NASDAQ's starting to push into these 40s. Happy with my exit. That
nice.
was, I
Well
give
managed.
myself an A+ trade on that one. You love when you close a trade out early and then it would have hit your stop loss anyway.
Right.
I love that feeling.
I was seeing people say crude selling too. Okay, little volume in crude here.
Yeah, I don't think it's news driven. News driven, it's a lot more volatile.
Violent, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah,
Oh,
it's
actually, I'm gonna get in crude here. I'm gonna get in a crude long here.
okay.
I'm gonna measure my risk real quick. Yep, I'm getting into a crude long right here. This is on my XFA. I'm in long crude 73.44. May get stopped out on here, but this is a technical pattern that I've seen, so I have to take it. Risking about 190 bucks on this. 200. Actually, I'm gonna move this down just a little bit. Risking about 230 on this. If I can, I want to try to hold this trade 275. And I'm not going to put it exactly at 75, 74.95. This is what I'm going to leave on.
You're long crude.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what was your reason behind that? I'm really curious because I was looking for a long
Yep.
crude as well.
Yeah, so 30-minute opening range. This is actually exactly what I was looking for platinum to do. So
Okay.
30-minute opening range, VWAP left the range to the high, and then we get this sell-off back to the high of the range and a rejection of it. So the way I'm looking at this now, this white line here is the average price of buyers. I just got a better fill than the average price of buyers. So worst case scenario, I'm making money to their position, right back up to that VWAP. Not a whole lot of money. It's only 60 bucks. But if they continue to buy and these sellers keep failing, then I want to join this trend. I've seen this trade set up and be the trend for the day. So I'm just going with those probabilities. Could be one that stops me out, but I'm okay with the risk. Put the trade on and let it work.
One contract, and what's your risk?
One contract. One contract, I'm risking about 25 ticks.
Okay, the 250.
Yeah. So I'm right around 230. Yeah, I'll move it down 250.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
risking 250.
250. Okay, let's see here. Checking. How's trading in
And
XFAs for you, Coach Jay?
It's fun. I sometimes get too aggressive in them, and I had a day where I was down 3,300 in this XFA, so that's why the balance is where it is right now. But it's fun. It's fun. I have to remind myself to trade conservatively until I build a balance in these accounts, and then when I want to scale up, it has to make sense for the account balance, right? And not just because I want to be more aggressive.
Okay. Yeah, I've had plenty of conversations with the risk management team in my live account talking about scaling, moving my daily loss limit. I had one today. If you guys missed it, I explained it in Power Hour today, the start of Power Hour. You guys could go through that. Because that's always the fine thing. And I always see traders asking that question is like, what's the advantage of a live account, compared to XFAs? It's like there's flexibility. When you get to a live account, you could change your daily loss limit. You could change your position sizing. You can work with the risk management team, and they are great to work with. And so that's part of it is, number one, once you start to, have that consistent trading, you can start having those conversations is when do I size up? How do I size up? Do I size up based off of profit? Do I size up based off of account balance? Do I size up based off of smoke clouds? I don't know. Trust me, Jay, at this point, nothing will surprise me when I hear traders start talking about some things in this market.
Just scanning around to see how much I actually really like this trade. And I do. Yeah, I really like this. My exit is below the 20 moving average on the 30-minute, which is starting to trend up.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of like everything about this trade. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Crude long. Good. Yes. I'm actually tempted to join you in that crude long. It had that breakout and pullback. I'm going to
Let me get stopped out first. Wait until I get stopped out and then you can go.
I'm gonna put my entry at your. No, I can't do that. No. I'm just 100% joking with you. Going through that. Man, time goes by so fast. We have 28 minutes. It's not a signal, Coach Dakota. I mean, you see, you've seen what I was pointing out earlier on crude oil about those stop loss runs. I like this trade. I really do in crude, looking to get in long. If I want to get it, if I'm not in a trade in crude, I want to get into the long side. Now, we all know anything can happen in these markets as always. I'm actually sitting here watching the NASDAQ. It's holding up. It's wanting to hold back up above into these 50s again. So I'm considering getting into this long of the NASDAQ if we could continue to push back up into these 50s. Same trade setup. We hit my stop. Well, I got closed out and we hit the stop loss in those 40s. So I'm go back to my charts. And we're kind of just consolidating right here so far. I'm going to wait. See how we hold these 40s. If we get back up into this area, then sure, I might add this position. I got in and then back out again. You can see I'm down at 187, and yeah, I might just get back into this one.
Playing for a break. Tempted to add to this crude trade as well. It would increase my risk. We'd be risking about $400. We're kind of holding 50% of that opening range. And again, the stop is going to be really tight on this because if I'm wrong, I'm okay being wrong. But I may add a contract here. I did add one on the ineligible combine and didn't change. Again, it just added about $200 to the risk. So deciding whether or not I want to add to this trade or just let it work.
Okay, fair enough. And I am back in the NASDAQ at 52 evens.
Nice.
Let's see how this one plays out. Risking the same. 100. Stop losses at 44 evens. And you said you might add to that crude?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it where it is. Leave it with the one lot for now. Yeah. Tony, yes, my setup was on a 30-minute chart, and I entered on a 3-minute chart.
Setup on what was your setup on?
So the setup in crude was based on a 30-minute chart, right? 30-minute opening range, 30-minute candles closing outside the range, and then my entry, I'm looking at a 3-minute chart for entry inside that range somewhere.
Got it. Okay, we'll switch it back to my charts. I am long. You can see this trade setup identical to the same one. So we'll see if this is going to stop me out. I'm looking to see if we could break through this little downtrend that we have right here going. We do have 20 minutes left for class. I'm perfectly fine with adding to this position. It is slow markets.
I should have added.
Did you? Let's switch it to
I should have added, yeah. It gave me an opportunity to add. It bounced right to 50% of the opening range and left the range. It is what it is. What I've realized, guys, for myself is that if I call something out, I should just do what I say regardless of if it's going to work or not. Because here we go again. If I added that's a $400 trade already. And again, and again, these are not trade signals or anything like that. I do think this has the potential to get up to 75. So we will see what the market decides, but I like the trade.
That's how it is. You call a trade out and you're like, okay, I should probably add here. And the next thing you know, it's too late.
Yep. So what I will say is my target is up at 74.95. Let's say we do start making some progress here and we get above this 74.30 here. Why am I looking at 74.30? It's this candle, the high of this candle right here, that is, a heavy displacement, imbalance, whatever you want to call it. We need to get above 73.75. We can see it kind of acting as a resistance right now. If we get above that, use that as a support, I'll add to this trade.
Okay, I'm in 15 micros here, Coach Jay. I've been adding as we go up.
Nice.
I'm going to add some more. Oh, these are micros. Okay, there we go. Let's see what we could do here.
People say gold moving too. Gold's moving nice as well. Do we just move slow markets back 45 minutes? Because I think they're onto you, Dakota. All the market makers realized you were making too much money, so they're just like, hey, let's try to throw them off and give them volatility at the end of the session instead of the beginning.
I don't like that. Let's keep watching this. Now we watch.
Yeah, it looks like it wants to go. It's just look at gold. Kind of want to short gold here too.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm out.
Now we're just trading.
Yeah.
You got out?
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I see it. The hesitation.
Yep. Hesitated.
And because of the volatility picking up a little bit, that's a trade that right now, and I think I was asking before, that's not a slow markets trade, right? That's one where, hey, let's take advantage of a little bit of a movement here and just not getting it right.
Correct.
Nice.
Oh, it just logged me out too. Sign back in. Oh, come on.
I like this volatility though. I'll take it.
Yeah, we're seeing a nice spike in volatility here.
Right. If I didn't want to leave this trade on all session, I'd probably think about trailing. But where the risk to reward is for where my potential target is, I'm okay leaving this on. And if it stops me out, it stops me out. Scan in the chat, see if we got any other questions. Stephen asked earlier, what kind of discipline problems did you encounter early on, and how did you correct them, build better habits? Stephen, I would say discipline problems were over trading for me, emotional trading for sure. And I don't know that those are things that have gone away. I think those are part of my personality. And I've learned how to not allow those personality traits to affect my trading when I see them coming up. So for me, it's identify it in real time. I can be a very opinionated person at times, even if it doesn't show on camera. I can be very opinionated, and that's not a good thing when I'm trading markets that I don't control. So if I find my opinion coming into trading and it's leading my decisions, I just have to walk away because I know I'm not making the right decisions for trading. Forget about what Jay wants. It's what is the market saying, and do that. If I ever think, if I'm ever in a trade and I say, hey, this is what I want, it's a lot better for me to just walk away. And I know that after just making so many bad decisions, being led by that ego or opinion.
Have you experienced that recently?
Yeah, 100%. The day I had a negative 3,300 trading day in this XFA, my opinion showed up and he took over. And it happens. It still happens to this day. Again, I think I've gotten better at mitigating the risk when that shows up. Because before, I don't know that I would have made a recovery in those accounts, right? The very next day, that opinion would have showed up again and tried to make it back 5 times, and that just doesn't work. So I know how to, I forgot what book it was, but it said everyone has a bad trader and they need to know who that person is because they're going to show up, right? You have a bad day at home, that bad trader is going to show up, right? You work a 9 to 5 and you also trade on the side and you have a meeting that you don't want to join and you rather just trade, that bad trader is going to show up. So know how to mitigate your risk when that bad trader shows up, because that's the person that blows your accounts.
Would you ever record yourself?
I did it all the time, did it for years. And that's, I think, how I knew what I was doing when it happened. Where if I'm trading, and like right now I'm talking out this trade, this crude oil trade to you guys. If I'm trading and I can't speak out what's happening and I'm kind of just leaning forward into my desk and like just clicking buttons, I'm making horrible decisions. Every single decision I make when I'm in that mode is a terrible decision. And I knew that from recording myself. Same way you see us, talk about trades on fast markets and during Topstep TV. I did that for 2 years, just recording myself and rewatching the videos because I needed to know what it looked like when I was making these terrible decisions, right? So I have the screen there, I have a video recording of myself, and it's embarrassing, but it's necessary.
Embarrassing but necessary.
Yep.
It's hard for a trader, myself
sure.
included, to go through those embarrassing things, even if nobody sees it, right? It's like that self-embarrassment, which kind of leads me to, I was talking about this the other day about Brett Steenbarger. He's going to be on the 15th, and I mean, that is the question, right? It is embarrassment in trading. I found myself, especially on the leaderboard, whenever I have a losing day, I have a level of embarrassment where I know the team's going to see it. They're going to see it on the leaderboard. They're going to see me lose money. It's freaking embarrassing, Coach Jay. It really is.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And it's not embarrassing to lose, right? I don't care that I lose trades, right? And I because I've accepted that that's a probability in trading, and I'm not always going to be right on my market direction. So it's okay. It's embarrassing when you do the, like if you could look at your trade report and you say, well, who was that sitting at my desk? That's when it gets embarrassing because it's just like, okay, just have better emotional control.
That's easier said than done, huh?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, the leaderboards made me be emotional sometimes. Someone's asking, where do I see leaderboard? On Topstep TV during the daytime, during fast markets, they usually share it. I think they even was talking about having it displayed live eventually, which is going to be fun. It's good and bad. It's a double-edged sword. I talk about it all the time. You see it all over. Everyone's talking about it, the leaderboard. The best thing for us as traders is not even pay attention to it, to be honest. It's a very small percentage who even makes it onto that leaderboard. You don't even need to make it onto the leaderboard to be a consistent trader. I mean, there's a lot of traders I talk to who are just fine, happy, not even having their name mentioned, taking a payout and continuing to take payouts and making some really good money in a completely anonymous environment. And sometimes I do think back to thinking like, sometimes that would be better. Sometimes it would be better if I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'll just stick to coaching, do my slow markets, help traders, do my class, and then my own personal trading and maybe what I'm doing here at Topstep, I just keep it to myself and then take payouts and not have to deal with the ups and downs. But then on the other side, I'm thinking, I started a trade at Topstep to help traders and show them what's possible. So I feel like I've done that, and I've made that very, very interesting goal for the end of next year, which we'll see. We'll see how that one goes.
For sure. I got some questions about this crude oil trade now that it's chopping around a little bit.
Yeah.
So, do I always enter at VWAP or at the extremes? This trade wasn't at VWAP, right? This trade was below VWAP. This was a sell-off below VWAP. Looked like sellers failed, and I sold below it. If you're using VWAP, and I've explained this a couple times before, but if you're using VWAP and it's a flat angle, I don't want any of my trades near a VWAP that's a flat line. If it's an angled VWAP, then I'll feel more comfortable taking trades there. But if I see VWAP trending up, I want to try to buy lower than it. If I see it trending down, I want to try to sell lower, because the way I look at it, I'm in a better price than the traders who have this as an average. And then there was another question. In hindsight, do I see 73.65 as the high of the range, and should I have gotten out of this trade? I called it out, when I got into it, where we see this candle, this imbalance here. I'm talking about the market potentially filling this imbalance, and we rejected right at 50% of it. The trade for the time being is still valid. We've accepted the lows of this range. So I'm actually thinking about moving this stop down a little bit. just in case the lows of this candle want to hold as a support, just to give it a little bit more room, because I still like this, right? I'm ideally looking for the market to fill this imbalance here. So I'm going to let this one work, right? It may not do it in the time frame that I like, but I'm okay with the risk, and I'll just leave it from there.
Okay, so you're fine with leaving that trade on.
Yeah.
Would
Yep.
you ever consider
I'm gonna leave
closing it out early or adjusting your stop loss?
If it moves, if it moves, I'll adjust my stop, right? If it gets above this 50%, then I would move it up. But for right now, there's no reason to do anything.
If it moves before you go to sleep, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. What about if you wake up and you're still in the trade? Like, say it's somewhere in between your stop loss and take profit.
If it's somewhere up here and my take profit's up here, if it's somewhere near the highs, I would definitely trail and lock some of that in.
Okay. Someone's saying take a look at platinum. I mean, markets moved there for a second and then it kind of just stopped. Sometimes it's slow markets, a little spike in volatility, and then back to slow markets. We lost you, Coach Jay. We lost your mic.
Yep, you should be able to hear me now.
There you go. There you go.
You see how this VWAP left the range in platinum and it's acting as a support, even on this what looked like a sell-off. It bounced right at that VWAP. I'm looking for a similar thing in crude oil, but it's just not doing it, and that's okay. It's coming. It is coming back down to the point that I said I wanted to add before, but we'll see. We'll see on that one.
Man, I might get into a short on the NASDAQ. I'm looking at a short on the NASDAQ. Yeah, I think I'm just going to wait. Be patient. Wait till tomorrow. Because this market's just too choppy. Too choppy for me.
Yep.
That being said, we're coming to the end of slow markets already. We have the last 5 minutes. We talked about Brett Steenbarger. I kind of teased about the private coaching that I'm teasing a little bit. Do you have any last thing that you wanted to add? I do know the new stuff that's going on. We still have Nick for a Tick on Sundays, D in their London session, yourself, Coach Jay for At the Buzzer. We're doing the trade with the pros, which is awesome, where they can come in and try and pass and trade their combine on TopstepTV. And then there's just trade with Topstep, right, where you come in and trade with your favorite coach or someone and get feedback. So I love that Topstep's continuing to move that way, and the day show's continuing to add these new fun segments and getting the audience involved and on all the traders, right? It's not just like, oh, the same group of guys is always on Topstep TV talking about the same stuff.
Right.
We're continuing to get the audience involved, and I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Tony, please watch last Thursday's slow markets. I explained this anchor VWAP strategy in pretty good detail. Or if not, check out At the Buzzer. I'm there every day, 4:15 Eastern Time, 3:15 Central. And we're kind of going through this anchored VWAP setup. Simple answer, opening ranges, volume events.
Real quick, how's At the Buzzer been for you?
It's been great, man. It's been great. We are, what's really cool for me is explaining a concept that I think makes sense to me, having traders say, you know what, this makes a lot of sense the way you look at the market. And I've passed a combine implementing these strategies. I've made money in my XFA implementing these strategies. And that's why we're doing this, right? I don't have all the answers. Dakota doesn't have all the answers. It's an opportunity for me to review the markets and find things new and kind of explore. And it's great when, we have traders in there asking questions, saying, hey, I took your strategy and added this to it. Do you want to look at this? It's all community building, right? We're learning from each other. I learn as much from the community as I do from, kind of just looking at charts myself. So it's been good. If you haven't joined, make sure you join right after the market closes.
Yeah, I watch it all the time. I watch it all the time. If I don't make it, I do watch some of the recordings. Isn't it a beautiful thing that I've learned a lot working with the traders here. I've learned a lot from you, Coach Jay. I've been watching the Dome more than I've typically, and I was even talking about that last night with Nick for a Tick. I was like,
yep,
it's crazy how much I don't want to say I've changed since becoming helping traders here at Topstep, but I feel like it's improved my trading, or at least adjusted my trading a little bit, where I'm, paying attention to some, more details, and it's helped me avoid some bad trades. And I'm running into that question is, am I a better trader or a worse trader that I'm implementing some of these things? And now that we're
Yeah.
coming upon a year since I've been doing this, I'm starting to find a little bit of an answer. My trading's, the statistics have slightly improved. And so I'm curious to see what this upcoming year, or this last quarter is going to be like. And then the start of 2025, and looking at
Yeah.
more of the longer term. I'll never look at, yeah, we'll see how this week goes, or we'll see how the next 2-3 weeks goes. I'm looking at, how's this quarter going to
Long
go?
time frame.
And then how's the year going to go when I implement these changes to my strategies? And so maybe that's something fun, or it's something that everybody in the chat could think about, is when I make implements to my trading strategies, or the way I trade, or a new market that I want to trade, I'm looking in terms of like a quarter or semi-annual or even annual when
You need to give it enough
analyzing my
time.
trading. And I almost never look at a week to week, or maybe a month to month basis. It's just every month is a new trading environment, seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to give whatever you're doing enough time to work, and you don't want to change all the time. It's like a basketball player, right? If I miss a couple shots, I'm not all of a sudden going to change my shooting form, because I'm going to miss some of those shots too with a different form. So
I mean,
do something
Shaq
long
should
enough.
have.
Yeah, I mean, he got paid millions to miss free throws, so he's doing something right. Um,
I agree with you. You miss a few shots, you get in a cold streak, and you're like, all right, change everything about what I was doing.
and then that new strategy is not going to work either. So, or it's not going to work all the time.
Yeah, fair enough. Any last thing? Right at 9 p.m. Heavy
Not for
hearts with
me. I will
Florida.
be on Topstep TV tomorrow twice. Yeah, definitely prayers for anyone in Florida right now, for your safety, for you and your families, because that is a serious storm looking like it's about to touch down.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, keep going at it, Coach Jay. Excited to. I'll see everybody in Still Markets tomorrow, and yourself, Coach Jay, Friday morning.
Sure.
Should be a great Friday. Lots of volatility. Remember, trading is optional, and take care. Thanks, Coach Jay. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dakota.